Welcome to our immersion. This episode will be covering bandhas. We'll talk a little bit about some of the 3 most common bandhas, and then we'll go through some different poses where we can start to add some new bandhas in that will help to make the poses more effortless for you in your practice. So Mula Bandha is probably the most common bandha that's talked about in yoga classes. And Mula Bandha is really just a lift at the perineum, and it's kind of like just lifting the pelvic floor. So I talk about this to beginner students as being more like stopping the flow of urine, like stop peeing, and that's kind of what baby Mula Bandha feels like. And then we have Uddiyana Bandha, where you draw the low belly in and up. It's more of a baby Uddiyana Bandha that we use in an asana practice. And these 2 bandhas combined are like a vertical lift from the tailbone up to the navel. So these 2 bandhas shouldn't cause you to tuck the tailbone under. They're really designed to level out the pelvis and keep you light and create an energetic support system as you move through your practice. But like any good support system, we have to provide support for it. And then the 3rd most common bandha is Jalandhara Bandha, and that's where you bring the chin to the sternum. You kind of lift the sternum up and you bring those together, and that's a throat lock. And we won't be using that today in our practice, but it's a relevant bandha in pranayama practices and some other poses. So bandha means lock, or a body lock, really. And so as we start to move through some poses here, we'll create new body locks, and I think you'll have a good time practicing those today. All right, so the first thing I want to do is just an easy practice with Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha, just kind of like that stop peeing practice. So we'll take a couple of natural breaths here together. Take a deep inhale and exhale. And then take a nice deep inhale. And then contract the muscles that you would use to stop peeing, or lift the pelvic floor and draw the low belly in and up. So this is kind of what Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha feel like when they're practiced together. Now go ahead and exhale and release. And ideally the bandhas are used throughout the entire 90 minutes or 60-minute practice, but the reality is they come and go. So I like to remind students often, I'll say Mula Bandha or lift the pelvic floor. So it's just, even in my own practice, I find that I forget sometimes too. So let's go ahead and start with some standing poses, and we'll talk about how to create some new bandhas, okay? So we'll start in Tadasana today. And we'll bring the heels apart just slightly so you have a little bit of internal spin on the legs. That internal spin also supports that lift at the pelvic floor for Mula Bandha. But in a standing position, and particularly Tadasana, as far as I'm concerned, Mula Bandha begins where the feet meet the ground. So it's really about your connection with earth, and we can develop the downward current of what I call the downward current of manifestation. So you start to push down. You can lift the toes and get a little bit of space in between the toes, and then just relax them down naturally. And the more you push down, you develop this downward current of Shiva, and this is really that current that gives us that grace and ease as we move through the practice. So push down, and then the more you push down, you imagine those roots going deep and wide, and then from those roots you start to draw energy up, and that is this divine upward current of Shakti, or the upward current of liberation. So as you push down and then you begin to lift the arches, that's really where Mula Bandha begins. So we have the push down and lift the arches, and the more you push down, the more you can lift the kneecaps and lift the thighs, and then begin to lift the inner thighs. And now you're creating the support that really supports that lift at the pelvic floor. When you start to kind of fall down a little bit, Mula Bandha goes away and everything goes away. When you continue to push down through the feet and lift, then Mula Bandha feels supported. And this is really what gives you all the freedom in the upper body to move gracefully in your practice. So you can draw the low belly in and up and lift up out of the pelvis a little bit. Lift the heart center, take the shoulders down and back, and bring the palms together at the heart center. So press the palms together actively so that you create space in the armpit area. This is really like creating a whole new bandha here between the hands that offers support to the shoulder girdle. And this is really important when you start doing inversions or arm balances. So you create that space in the armpit area and reach up through the crown of the head and then tuck the chin just slightly. And then on the next exhale, push down through the feet and lift the pelvic floor all at the same time. And then you really start to wake up those two currents. And then begin to breathe into the sides of the rib cage and the lowest part of the lungs. And then you create this horizontal current of giving and receiving with each inhale and each exhale. And where these four currents meet is just about an inch or so below the belly, right below the navel. And that's really where Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha meet as well. So this is where everything comes from, is right here. So we'll just take one more breath here. Actively push down and press the palms together. And breathe calmly. So Tadasana becomes a very active pose, a very dynamic pose. If you have a room full of students in Tadasana, it may feel like we're just standing around doing nothing. If an outsider walked in and looked around, they'd say, oh, they're just standing around. But we know internally, when we add all of these elements into Tadasana, that it becomes very dynamic and very powerful and sets the tone for the rest of your practice. So from Tadasana, we're going to come into Vrikshasana. Bring the right foot up into the inner part of that left thigh. So this is cool because now you have that opportunity to create a bandha between the foot and the inner thigh. So you want to push actively into the thigh and resist back with the thigh. And you have that bandha here as well. If you feel like this is challenging, if you start here with the toes on the floor, you still get to push into the ankle and resist back just a little bit to create that bandha. And this really keeps you fully supported. And then over time, you get that foot all the way up here and push and resist. And lift the pelvic floor and create that space in the armpit area. And we'll take a few breaths here. How's that feel? Pretty good. And go ahead and take the arms up overhead. Good. And push, and really push down through the feet. You can lift the toes up a little bit and then relax them down. And how those hands feel up above you. Pretty good? Nice. So with these active bandhas here, you can also begin to just check out some variations. Maybe take the arm over to one side and begin to lean. And this all comes from pushing and resisting here. So it gives you all that support that you need. And continue to push down through that standing leg as well. And just breathe calmly. Go ahead and come on back up. And bring that foot down. Let's do that on the other side, okay? So bring that left foot up. And push and resist. And you'll find that this gives you all of the support that you need. Push and resist and lift. And then come back to that space in the armpit area. And I really like a calm breath when you're working on challenging poses. I think it's like our training ground for when we face challenging situations off the mat. We've trained the nervous system and the breath to just remain calm. I'm going to try that side variation, see how that feels. Nice. Push and lean just a little bit more. Excellent. Take a nice deep inhale. Good. And then bring the arms back up. And come back to Tadasana. Okay, so The next pose that I want to show you, where you can create a new bandha and give you support, is a pose called Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. This is one that I see students fall out of all the time in class. So I think some of these tips will be really helpful for you. In Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, you want to we'll start with that right leg, push through that left leg. And you can grab the toe if you like, or the outer edge of the foot. And if this is kind of limiting you, maybe the back of the thigh, you can bend the knee and hold on to the knee. I think the most important part of this is keeping the spine nice and long, okay? So go ahead and bring that leg up. You can grab the toe and then straighten the leg. Let's go ahead and turn. You guys can face to the front. I'll turn sideways. Good. You want to push down and then really push into this hand here and pull back with the hand. So you lift the pelvic floor, scoop the belly just a little bit, but come back to that space in the armpit area that you had in Tadasana. So this new bandha here between the foot and the hand is really where it all happens. This makes the pose super easy. So if you kind of just are hanging out here and balancing, it can get super wiggly. But if you just push and lift the heart center, take the shoulders down and back, then you're providing the support really that the bandhas are offering as well. Good. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, go ahead and take that leg out to the side. Good. And really push. Lift the heart center. Good. And breathe calmly. That looks awesome, Andreas. Nice. Inhale. Bring that leg back to center. And give that knee a little bow. And go ahead and release that leg. And I like to come back to that internal spin every time. So it really just sends that same message to the bandhas that we're supporting them. Let's go ahead and lift that left leg up. Good. And keep the hand on the hip. You get to create a new bandha even with the hand and the hip just by pushing in. Gives you a real sense of ground. Yep, that's nice. Yeah, go ahead and really push through here and flex those toes back towards you. How's that feel? Different. Inhale, lengthen, lift the heart center. And exhale, take that leg out to the side. Good. Nice. Lift the arches and push down through that standing leg a little bit more. And can you imagine, just relax a little bit in this challenging shape. Excellent. Bring that leg back to center. Give the knee a little bow. And then bring the foot back to the mat for Tadasana. So the next pose that I want to practice here with experimenting with new bandhas is the revolved version of the one we just did, Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. So we'll start standing on that left leg, and we'll just turn this way. So it's kind of the same options that you have in the previous pose where you can hold on to the outer edge of the foot or hold on to the knee. Whatever gives you more support and keeps the spine nice and long. That's really what matters. You want to push into the hand, pull back with the hand, push through the standing leg, and really lift up out of the pelvis. So you get to create this new bandha over here and push through the leg and lift the pelvic floor, Mula Bandha. And breathe calmly. So this is one of my favorite twists, actually. And just keep that nice, calm, steady breath. Good. And then go ahead and release that leg, nice and easy. And then let's turn to the other direction and do the other side. Okay? So push down, lift the pelvic floor before you even start to lift that leg. And then that gives you all the support that you need. All right? Okay. Lift up a little bit. Good. So all these extra bandhas that you add into these poses, just make them more effortless. And these are really what conserve your energy. So you do a nice, strong 60-minute or 90-minute class, and you leave feeling refreshed and invigorated rather than completely exhausted and wiped out. Good. And gently release that leg. Excellent. All right. So the next pose that we're going to do is called Utthita Parshva Konasana. So this one is, when it comes to any standing poses, I'm not really into huge stretches. I'm more into creating stability, and that's what the bandhas are all about for me. So in Utthita Parshva Konasana, known as the extended side angle pose, I love to create a new bandha between the knee and the inside of the arm. So some people like to do this pose like this. I think it's great. But I really like to take that arm to the outside of that leg and push the knee into the arm and resist back with the arm. And lift the pelvic floor. So that gives you all the support right here. Okay? You guys want to try that? All right. So you can kind of start in Warrior Two and use these bandhas here. Push through the outer edge of this back foot. Yep. Go ahead and bring that right arm down. So you can start on the elbow or bring that hand all the way to the mat. Good. And really push down through here. The more you push down through the outer edge of the foot, the more you can lift the inner thighs. And then we know that that supports that lift at the pelvic floor. It's really cool. You can bring the gaze up under that bicep, that top bicep, and then bring the gaze all the way up to the fingertips and push through the outer edge of the back foot. That's awesome. How's that feel? Good. So that pushing in between the knee and the arm, that's that new bandha here that will keep you there just effortlessly for however long you need to be there. So go ahead and push down through the feet and inhale. Come on back up to Warrior Two. Yeah, easy. And then we'll switch sides. You feel like that helps? Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. Good. Push. The outer edge of the back foot is just the same as that internal spin on the legs. That gives you that real downward current where you lift the pelvic floor and support. Good. So bring the arm to the outside of that leg. Good. And then push and resist. So this is where your new bandha begins, right here. Good. And then relax those grippy toes. Mm-hmm. And then bring the gaze all the way up to the fingertips. How's that? Mm-hmm. And I love this. Cool. And push through the feet and inhale. And come on back up. Excellent. Okay, so the next pose is Vishvamitrasana. And this one, you definitely need to create new bandhas in it because it really is somewhat of a challenging pose. You guys feel ready for this? Ready. Okay. So you want to get the shoulder way under the knee. So we've created this bandha here, right? So now we're going to take the shoulder way under the knee and create a new bandha. So you're going to push together here, scoop the belly and push through the back foot. And even if you just bend the foot, bend the knee and bring the foot up, this is great. If you feel like the back of the leg is a little bit tight. But you've got that bandha between the hand and the foot. And you've got this bandha right here to mess around with, okay? So let's go ahead and give that a go. Sometimes we think about just relying on upper body strength for some of these things. It's really just creating some techniques to send the right message to the body that says, I'm supporting you, really. How's that feel? Does that feel a little? Let's go ahead and come on down out of that a little bit. So let's start with kind of scoop that belly a little bit more. Mm-hmm. When you bring the hand down, kind of pull the pelvis under you and scoop that belly so it's not so far out like this.
I think I'll do
Good, now scoop the belly. Hey, that's really nice. Push. How's that feel? That's nice.
It feels better.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh.
Yeah, for sure. Nice, Andreas. You can come out of this pose a lot of different ways. You can come out of it through Ekapada Vinyasana B. Nice and easy. Just scoot the torso forward and then step back. If you're in a vinyasa class, you just step back to Chaturanga Dandasana and take a vinyasa. So let's do that on the other side, okay? Bring the left leg way up and around the left arm. Cool. Create that bandha between the knee and the back of the arm. And then scoop the belly. Push. How's that feel?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
I guess.
Yeah. Good. So Vishvamitrasana is cool. Couple of different variations of this too. If you feel like it's just a little bit too extreme on some days. Yep, thanks, Andres. That's perfect. You can also do this with a bent knee. All right, so you can bring the shoulder under the knee and just stay on the knee. And this is a really nice variation for a lot of people. It's kind of pretty. You guys want to give that a try? Okay, cool. How's that feel?
Yeah, but easier.
Yeah, easier for sure. But you can make it as dynamic, not just easier. Let's go ahead and get the knees straight under the hip. Yeah, like pull that knee back a little bit. That way. Scoot it back. Yes, good. Just, yeah. All right. How's that?
More easy.
It's more easy. It's you can make it equally as dynamic by using the bandhas. Okay? Excellent work. Okay. So the last pose for this segment, we are going to practice Vashisthasana. Okay? Vashisthasana is really commonly referred to as side plank, but Vashisthasana is named after a sage, Vashistha, and there are lots of options for this pose. But just like every pose we've done so far, we want to just think about how to create bandhas. So if you stay in this side version, this variation with the feet together, I like to bring the heels apart. So we're not just kind of hanging out and letting the upper body do all the work. Get a little bit of that internal spin, push and lift the hips up, and that'll keep you here effortlessly. All right, so let's do that. Yeah. So you can imagine kind of pushing through both feet as if you were standing in Tadasana and push through the hand. And that's going to give you that support to lift you up and keep you here pretty effortlessly. How's that feel? Pretty good? If Vashisthasana is new or you want to build up to this version, you can always bring this knee to the mat. This is great. But I like to build up a little more strength in this pose, so the next option would be to bring that foot in front. And that gives you more of that good space in between the mat and the body and allows you to create bandhas here. Okay? So let's do these on the other side. Push through the feet. It's just like you're standing in Tadasana, really. Push and lift. You lift that pelvic floor. You can try those modifications as well. Nice. So we'll do one more version of Vashisthasana. This is the kind of the most coveted version, where you want to take that leg up. And so just like Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, when we talked about bandhas, Vashisthasana offers the same possibilities here. So you can take that top leg up and hold on to the outer edge of the foot or the toe. But be careful not to pull the arch in like this. Then everything falls apart in here. So you really want to push through all four corners. You can also hold on to the knee. And you can bring that foot into the inner thigh, which we mastered in tree pose already. It's cool. All right. Why don't you guys give that a go? And get the whole bottom foot. When you start to lift the top leg up, you want to make sure that the whole bottom foot is on the mat. So sometimes that means backing off and getting a little bit of a shorter base between the hand and the foot, because it's all four corners that are really going to give you the that push down support that you need. When you lift the top leg and you're go ahead. If you lift that top leg and you're still hanging out on the edge, it doesn't really send the right message to the body that really is about support. Yeah, that whole foot on the mat just tells everything that we're grounded, it's safe, and you can feel free to move effortlessly up here. It's nice. How's that feel? Pretty good? Tough? Cool. You want to do that on the other side? Okay. So when you lift up that leg and you hang out on the edge, everything is kind of coming from the upper part of the body and that left arm. You just pull the hand and foot a little bit closer and lift. And then you have all the support that you need to just pick that leg up. And then it happens easy. Yeah. Nice. Cool. So all of these poses, from Tadasana to Vashisthasana, they all have such similar qualities. And when you start to add these new bandhas in to all of these poses, then you create that space for that downward current of Shiva to really support you, and the upward current of Shakti to give you that freedom of flow and also creativity. Those bandhas that support you are really what help you to stay with your practice. And what's most important to me is that when students leave a class, or when you finish your practice at the end of your hour or your hour and a half, that you're inspired to come back to the mat the next day. So it's really about creating effortlessness and joy and finding ways to give your body more stability and support, and then it just makes everything easier. And this is, like I said earlier, this is our training ground, where we don't just make our yoga poses easier, but it makes life easier as well. So if you'd like to take Shavasana now, take your time with that. And if you'd like to continue on and join me for the next episode, I'll look forward to seeing you there.